So let's talk about the future tense. It is probably new to most of you in Latin 3, so that can make it a little tougher. The other thing that's a little tricky about the future tense is there are two sets of rules depending on the verb conjugation. But let's start first by translating. If you use will to translate the future tense, that's fine. That's the most common thing. It is nice to know that in the first person singular and plural, shall is actually the more proper thing to say. So I shall verb, but it is not incorrect to say I will verb. So don't feel like you have to hold yourself to shall if either it doesn't come naturally to you or if you feel it sounds a little overly formal. Again, inflected language. The definition is going to come from the stem or the base, and what the word does in the sentence is going to come from the endings. And when it comes to verbs, it will be personal endings. Reminder of the present stem, you're always going to take the RE from the second principal part, and it will always end in a vowel. So what you need to know is that there are two sets of personal endings. There's one for the first and second conjugation and one for the third and fourth. And first and second is pretty straightforward. So start with the present stem. And then the personal endings are going to be bo, bis, bit, bimis, bitis, bunt. And as always, those correspond to the pronoun subjects of those verbs. The endings are pretty straightforward. Obviously, you have to remember the difference between bo, bis, bit and bom, bos, bot in the imperfect. But other than that, the formula is pretty straightforward. You just take the present stem, you add the endings bo, bis, bit, bimis, bitis, bunt, and that's the future tense for the first conjugation. It's similarly as straightforward for second, habe, bo, habe, bis. There's no shift in vowels. There's no change in spelling. It's pretty straightforward. So just watch out for the bo, bis, bit. I think one mnemonic device to remember is that the bom, bos, bot of the imperfect is translated was, and just like bom, bos, bot has an A in it, was has an A in it, and bo, bis, bit is in the future, and just like the bis, bit has an I in it, will has an I in it. So if that helps you, great. So for third and fourth conjugation, we've got the present stem, and then the personal endings aren't going to be quite as distinctive. So we've got as, et, amus, atus, ent. So those are going to be the endings. And remember again, as always, that they correspond to the pronoun subjects. In order to form the verbs, the third conjugation is the only one that's got a little extra step to it. So as you can see here, we've got duque, that's the present stem, and then the as, et. And probably when you look at this, it looks weird, especially having those two E's in a row in everything but that first person singular. And again, that is because that E is weak and wimpy, and so it actually gets smashed out by the stronger A and then the long E of the ending. So in the third conjugation, it's ducam, duques, duquet, ducamus, ducatus, ducent. One thing to watch out for, even though you've seen the M ending for I with bom, bos, bot, if you don't have the bom, you could look at that first person singular and think it's an accusative noun. So this is where some of the noun and the verb endings start overlapping. So you got to be sure you're paying attention to part of speech. For the fourth conjugation, it's straightforward. You do the stem and you add the endings. That I at the end of the fourth conjugation stem is strong and robust, so it does not get smashed out by the as, et. And this would be translated, I shall hear, you will hear, he, she, it will hear. So looking at the first and second conjugation, the endings are pretty distinctive. So I think, after you become familiar with them, you will be able to translate the future tense pretty straightforward if it's first or second conjugation. For the third and fourth conjugation, the endings are not quite as distinctive, especially if you don't know that these verbs are third and fourth conjugations. So as much as possible, if you can get those first two principal parts in your head so you can remember duco, ducere, short E, third conjugation, audio, audire, I ending, fourth conjugation. And it also is a good idea to compare the future and the present tenses for each of these. As you can see, the present tense, which is at the bottom, has that distinctive I and then the U in the plural, whereas at the top, the future tense has the A and the E. So I would say the trickiest part of the future tense is recognizing third and fourth conjugation future tense verbs in sentences.